Sairam to everybody. Thank you for joining Dev Talk session number 2. We are all set from our end. We'll wait for a couple of more minutes for rest of the registered participants to log in and join into the webinar. Meanwhile, thought that we could just share a few updates with all of you. I would like to share my screen. We have a new website, saidevtalks.in, and here is where all our upcoming talks will be featured. There'll be links for registration, and we will put a link even for the podcast and the transcript of the session. This website is under development, so more pages will get added, more links will get added over here. So keep a track of this website. We have a dedicated YouTube channel. Happy to say that there are already about 116 subscribers, and every single dev talk will be recorded and uploaded here in a day or two right after the session. And this is something that you can subscribe to and get notified as and when we have the recorded version uploaded into the YouTube channel. We also have a dedicated podcast channel. It's titled as Sai Dev Talks. It's there on Anchor, Spotify, and Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify. So it's available on quite a few platforms. And each of these talks, the audio version alone, we will upload it here. So it'll give you an opportunity to just listen in case you're not able to actually watch the video. We are doing our best to make each of these talks accessible to all of you, so that at your convenience, you can listen to them. Right after this session, as you can see on the screen, is a talk that's going to be given by Kundan, again an alumnus of Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, and he's going to be talking on development impact bonds. I know the title here shows differently, but yeah, we'll be making the necessary changes. A lot of interest was expressed in the first talk when Brother Satyajit mentioned about development impact bonds. So he has been part of various such projects. He has been part of structuring those bonds. Kundan also has the advantage of having done his public policy program in National University of Singapore in US. There's a lot that we can learn from him. He will share his journey, and he will also share his insights and his take on the role of development impact bonds to further the cause of philanthropy in particularly developing nations. We just have a minute to go. People are slowly joining in. As we are sharing the screen with you, note that there is a Q&A button on the left panel of your screen, and that is where you can kind of, it works equivalent to chat in Google Meet or in Zoom. Zoho is a Indian platform. So Q&A button is there. So that is where if you want to send a message to the organizers or ask a question, please use it. We will have a few interactive conversations during today's session. So it would be definitely great if all of you can respond to some of those queries. Sakshi, it's just about 6, so people might be joining in. I also noticed that there was some error in the email reminder that went out to participants, which was auto set from the system. Though there was a fixed template giving the link to the webinar, it somehow seemed that that email did not have any contents. Not sure why that kind of an error has happened. So we'll just wait, give another minute or two, and then we will start.
Yeah, sure, brother.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we will start the session. We will keep up to the schedule and respect all those who have joined in time. Thank you once again for joining in for this session of Dev Talks. We have with us Ms. Sakshi Sharma. She studied in Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning between the years 2013 to 2016. She then went on to do her master's and then took a very bold step of joining in as part of the Teach for India Fellowship, which is a 2-year program where the fellow gets to work in a school. It could be an urban school, school in a semi-urban setting, school in a rural setting, but predominantly public schools. And one has to work with the school leadership, with the student community, with the parent community, and improve the quality of education. But what exactly does one mean or refer to when one speaks of quality of education is a topic of discussion, and that is something that Sakshi is going to be speaking to all of us today. As part of her journey with Teach for India, she has also thought of things beyond just the school, beyond just the nation, and she has had the ability, courage, and conviction to imagine bringing together resources, people at a global scale. And that is what is Beyond Boundaries is all about, as to how do we usher in a new generation of youth who are empowered, who can understand peace, who can discuss peace, and who can initiate actions that will foster peace in the community. I think that is something remarkable. Not that I'm too many years senior to Sakshi, but I would like to still use the phrase saying that somebody as young as her is able to think of initiating change at a global scale. Small steps, every journey begins with a few small steps, but to even have the courage to imagine something at that scale with such depth, with a deep spiritual understanding, is only reflective of hers being a student of the Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. I once again welcome to you, Sakshi. It's a great pleasure that you readily accepted, and you have put in a lot of effort to be talking to all of us on the Dev Talks platform. Before I hand it over to you, I would like to inform all the audience that Dev Talks is a series that is inspired by Swami. All of us are students of his educational institutions. He has taught us as to what society is, what an individual is, what nature and humanity is, and what is God, and the interrelationship between all these four entities. The Vyashti, Samashti, Srishti, and Parameshti. Dev Talks is about sharing our learnings of putting his teachings into action, about translating his message into our journeys and our pursuits. So without the presence of our beloved Swami in this session, as a speaker, as a listener, as an active listener, as a silent listener, and also as a medium to facilitate this conversation amongst all of us, this talk will never be complete. So with prayers to Swami and invoking his presence amidst us, physical presence wherever each one of us are seated, and virtual presence as part of the platform, we seek Swami's blessings, we seek his continued inspiration, and we want that his message is amplified, exemplified in our actions louder and louder in days to come. Without taking any much more time, I now hand it over to Sakshi. Sakshi, I'll make you the presenter, and then you can get started with your wonderful reflection session. Over to you, Sakshi.
First of all, thank you so much, brother, for your kind words. And thank you so much for creating this amazing learning circle wherein we all can learn from each other, share our journeys, and learn from different sectors. In today's session of Dev Talks, we will be getting closer to the grayness of the lives the poor of our country live in. It is a reflection of journey of young girls and how they found their voices. It's a story of hope. It is a story of struggle. It is a story of hardship. But most of all, it is a story of how young girls at a government school in Tughlakabad found their voice and led their life with conviction, led their lives with the innate leadership qualities which we all have. And again, along the way, I hope that it will be transformative for all of you, and it will show us the reality of the leadership crisis our country and the world is going through. It will show us that peace and empathy is something which we all need to foster within ourselves. Um, yeah, thank you so much. I will start my presentation. So the journey started with me joining Sri Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning in pursuit of excellent education, uh, knowing that mere reading books and mere studying for exams is not education. It is something which is innate. It is something which is transformative. The whole experience of education should be transformative, and this is what I led in those 3 years. Um, I would really like the audience to share what excellent education is for them, because I'm sure they have seen and have been in the system and have experienced the transformative power of education. And I would really like a few answers.
So here is a question from the speaker as to what do you understand when you say quality education. Request you to use the Q&A option and type in your message here so that the speaker will be able to see your responses. I repeat the question. What do you mean? What do you understand when we say quality education? Is that right, Sakshi?
Exactly, brother.
Yeah. Please take a moment and type your answers. You can click on the Q&A option and type it out as question. So we have the first response. Kundan says integral education. Probably we share common understanding. Do you want him to elaborate it?
Yeah, exactly. Integral education, and as we said earlier, that not mere books and not mere learning and reading. It should have the transformative power. It should change the individual from within. As we said earlier as well, learning is something which changes you. It should change your behavior. Um,
Savita has responded saying she thinks that quality education is education that makes you think. Siddharth has responded saying that 2 points he has covered: understanding concepts and knowing the name of the concept versus knowing the name of the concept. Sorry. So understanding. And second is awareness of society around. So there is a societal context to education that he is trying to bring out. Nice to see these responses. Encourage more of you to type your. Maybe we'll give a 30 seconds more, Sakshi, if in case anybody wants to respond.
And thank you so much for all those responses and adding layers to what an excellent education should be. Uh, Understanding the concept and not just learning the name of the concept, knowing the community around you, knowing the world around you, knowing yourself.
There is another response from Nitesh. Yeah, quality education is one where one is able to change oneself and change the surrounding. So great. He's not only talking of individual transformation, but also empowerment to contribute towards societal changing.
Thank you so much for all the responses, and we will be deep diving into examples of what excellent education looked like in my journey and with my girls. Giving you a bit of context, I am a Teach for India fellow. It is a movement of leaders to fight educational inequity. The 2 years of Teach for India fellowship, we are placed in a low income government school, and we teach a particular subject to a particular class. But we also we also make sure that the education which our students are getting is not mere learning books. We make sure that our students inculcate 21st century skills, as we call it, in their education system. That that they are not merely stuck in their books. They learn about the world outside. That they learn about themselves. They are aware leaders. So the whole process is of creating leadership from students. And I believe that any problem can be solved if we have right kind of leadership.
Do you have a presentation that you're sharing?
Yes.
We are not able to see your screen.
I'll try sharing it again.
Yeah.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, now we are able to see your screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Please go ahead,
Yeah. So this is story of gray sunshine, that how we found our sunshine in this gray world. I was talking about Teach for India, which is a movement of leaders to fight educational inequity. The first 2 years at Teach for India are about classroom learning and classroom leadership, wherein we teach and lead a group of students in a low socioeconomic background. Talking about our story at Girls Government School in Tughlakabad. So this was my first day. I called one of my student. I didn't know her. I called Sonam, who was from the community, and I wanted to see what the community looks like and what the school looks like. We entered the school. Uh, it was two buildings, one of which was made of tin and had a very small blackboard, but had 74 girls in one class, three of them sitting on one chair. Um, the surrounding smelled like there was a very huge, we call it Kude ka Pahad. So um, there were a lot of problems with respect to sanitation in the, not only in the school but also in the community. As we entered, we learned that not enough infrastructure is available in the school, and that education, as we usually think about, is mere uh, learning from books, sitting in exams, passing those exams, and going back to going back to their homes, doing homework. And it had a very narrow, the school had a very narrow definition of what education can look like. Coming to the data of the classroom. So at the beginning of the year, when I joined the fellowship, I got the data from the previous fellow, and the reading comprehension level of the students was a 3. That means that students from grade 8 had the learning levels of grade 3, and the rigor level of social studies was at 20% students were from high rigor, 50% middle rigor, and 20% low rigor at the beginning of my fellowship. And when I entered the fellowship, when I entered my classroom, I realized that in order for anything to happen, I need to work on the reading skills, I need to work on their collaboration skills. And that is when I'd like to tell you about the community these students were coming from. So they came from 3 different communities: Lakarpur, which is in Faridabad, Praladpur, which is in north east Delhi, and Lal Kuan, which is in Tughlakabad itself. And these 3 communities, what was interesting was there was a very good mix of Hindus and Muslims, and the problem was that these communities never got along with each other. there were cases of communal violence in the community, and it was shown in the class as well. And when I wanted to plan interventions with respect to peer learning or group learning, I found that students do not get along with each other. They still carry on the grudges which exist in the community. They still haven't worked out on their biases. And this became very, very evident when in 2019 the CAA NRC protests were going on. So the protests were going on very near to the place where my school is, and because of which my school was closed for 2 days. When I entered the school, as was the norm, we spoke about it. We usually speak about what is happening in the country and in the world in Charcha spaces, which we have in our classes. We spoke about what is happening in the country and what is their take on it. And I really and genuinely love to know what my students are thinking, what these girls are thinking. And when I was listening to them, I thought that there is a clear bias in the mind, and I wanted my children to know that this bias exists within them. I wanted them to know that this is something they need to work on, and that is when I planned interventions, and I felt that we have studied awareness and we have studied unity of religion. So I got the idea that probably I can start sharing about different religions and how every religion talks about one thing. And I started the journey like that to bridge the gap between the students, to make sure that the tussle which exists in the community doesn't come to the uh, classroom. And probably the positive aspects of unity of religion, they can take it back in their community, start working on that, and probably I can make a very small, tiny little shift in the mindset. And with the telling them about different religions and even giving the, so I was teaching eighth grade, so I gave them the liberty to do their own presentations, talk about different religions, talk about different aspects of faith. And the journey started like that, but I realized that it is not making that big an impact in them in their minds. And we started doing something called learning circle, wherein we would just sit together, share about our journeys, share about uh, our lives, share about our problems and what we are feeling, so that I create a safe space in the classroom where collaboration can happen, because no kind of collaboration can happen outside a safe space, right? So safe space is something which I wanted to create. Um, Nothing was working out, and I was trying a lot of things, and I really wanted my kids to understand the unity aspect of it. Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Everybody is a family, whether the person is Hindu, Muslim, what caste, what creed, what color, no matter what. But sometimes it would break my heart when one of the kids would say, "Ki in logo ko to Pakistan chala jana chahiye." And it was such a powerful experience for me, because I knew that it is not their fault. They have not seen anything apart from that. You need access, you need exposure if you want to think differently, and that is what I wanted to create. And I am quite active on LinkedIn, and once I searched Teach for Pakistan, found a woman, and we started talking about education crisis in our countries. And she started talking about how in her community it is such a big bias that uh, anybody from India is bad. And I was like, in our country it is a big bias that anybody from Pakistan is bad. But as we were talking about education crisis in our countries, as we were talking about our backgrounds, as we were talking about what kind of education we want for our kids, and by our kids I mean kids of this whole world, I felt that I connected with her. I felt that our realities were very similar. And that is when we planned an intervention wherein we would have a series of conversations with students from India and students from Pakistan. So this was the first ever conversation we had हम लोग a collaboration of Teach for India and Teach for Pakistan, wherein students from India and Pakistan would come together, just talk, and I really wanted them, my students and the students from Pakistan, to just talk about anything. And it was a very it was not very well planned, I would say. The first session, there were internet issues, and the students spoke about tum log kahan rehte ho, where do you live, and what do you study, and they spoke about Bollywood, they spoke about Shah Rukh Khan, they sang songs, and by the end of that 1 hour, I could see that my kids were thinking. And as somebody said in the session, that thinking for yourself, thinking is the most important aspect of education. And my kids started thinking that ये तो हमारे जैसे ही हैं. These kids are just like us. They wear same clothes, they sing same songs, they speak in the same language, and they have very similar problems. And in the second session, one of the students from India and one of the students from Pakistan wrote a rap song about peace. In the third session, they became really good friends. That they exchanged their Facebook IDs, and they were like, we should totally get together, and we should work on something together. And I could see the immense power just talking, just communication has on people. Just knowing that something different exists from you, and that thing is not very, that person or that community is not very different from you. They are just like us. Every individual in this whole world just needs to be loved, just needs acceptance. And that is what I learned, and my kids learned. And we started this journey called Beyond Boundaries together. After the success of first 3 sessions with Pakistan, I thought that probably my kids should also talk to somebody from a sub-Saharan African country, and they spoke with the children from Ghana. After that, they spoke with children from Japan, and I realized that this kind of exposure is giving them a confidence, is giving them ability to speak in English quite fluently, is showing them different aspects of life, different aspects of different culture, and it was making them think differently. It was making them accept a different reality, and that is when I spoke with my program manager at Teach for India, with other fellows at Teach for India, that is this something which is happening in your class as well? Is this something which is happening in other cities as well? And I realized that this problem was deep rooted in every classroom possible, not only in India, not only in Ghana, not only in Japan, not only in Pakistan. And that is when we created a program called Beyond Boundaries, which is a 3 month fellowship program for students from around the globe to come together and work on sustainable development goals. Now, most of you must be asking, like, why sustainable development goals? Now, when we were doing these sessions, we realized that they will be fruitful if they start working on one common goal. And sustainable development goals are something which are global goals, and which these students must be working on, so that when they become adults, they live in a better place. In order to create that better place, they had to work together. They had to collaborate. And the best part which we thought of collaborating online, at least for the pilot phase, was using internet, using social media, and using art as a medium. Because in my experience, in Anantapur, and even after Anantapur, I felt that art is something which creates a kind of togetherness which nothing else can. At Patri, there are a lot of people who sing in a different language, but when they sing in Mandir, you feel you feel that power. And this is what I also felt, that probably with art, with filmmaking, we can create this change possible. So in the pilot phase, we started with filmmaking and art. In the first phase, we had students from 8 different countries coming together and working on sustainable development goals. Um, Rafia, who is a student from Pakistan, uh, she was a very ardent supporter of what international education and international cooperation can do, and she really wanted people from different countries to come together and to solve problems. She wanted peace in the region. She wanted that probably somebody from North Korea and South Korea can someday join hands. Probably someday, none of, a kid in Syria would study in a good school. She felt that someday a girl in Afghanistan can live freely. And through the Global Peace Building Fellowship, she got the opportunity to go to US and become part of Sister to Sister exchange program, wherein she met people from a lot of different countries. She could see different realities, she could see different cultures. Anchal, another student from India, got an opportunity to speak at Teach for All Global Conference 2020, along with dignitaries like Malala Yousafzai. Another thing which happened during the fellowship was um, one of the fellows from Armenia had to leave the fellowship because there was no internet, because there was a war between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And she lived in Artsakh where the war was. And this is something which she wrote in the message. Um, we each imagine peace differently, but being Armenian and living in Armenia, I will say one thing: there will be peace in any country if there is no war. And because of the war, the civilians and the children will not die. The happy and carefree childhood of those children will not disappear, or it will not be spent in shelters. Soldiers will not die because their heart bleeds when you hear the news of their death. For about a month now, time has stepped in Armenia. It is a war, and we have managed to understand what real peace is. And I believe that everything is going to be great in Armenia, in Nigeria, and all over the world. Let's love each other, do good things, and there will surely be peace in the world. Now you must be thinking that a kid is just speaking. Like, is it something which is great? She's just speaking. She doesn't actually have real power to stop a war. But if we think deeply, बातें करने से बात बढ़ती है. If we speak about things, then only things will become better. And I think if a kid is stepping up, if a kid is thinking big enough that this is something which is absolutely wrong, if she is thinking that this is something which we need to stop, then I think our future is in good hands. Another thing which happened was there was protests in Nigeria about about kids getting kidnapped and dictatorship in the country, the kind of problems the country had. And in the fellowship, we would always talk about international relations and what is happening in each other's countries, and we would try to find a solution for it. And that solution can be as small as uh, talking about it, or making a short film about it, or sharing what your views about it. In the fellowship, we had immense support from these three organizations. Film for Impact Foundation is a Nigerian organization who train students with basic filmmaking course. So they made our curriculum, and they made sure that our kids know the basics of filmmaking so that they can collaborate sitting in different countries. They can collaborate remotely. Project DTA is another organization which is based in Ghana, and they train students in art and how they can they can learn from artists from different countries, and they can learn cultures of different countries. And the umbrella was Teach for All. So Teach for India is a part of another organization which is again like a learning circle called Teach for All, which has partners from 54 countries. And Teach for All immensely supported the project, wherein they would connect the project with different countries. They would speak about it so that those who are interested and organizations who can actually help the project really help. And this was something which happened during the COVID. This was something positive which happened during the COVID. But working in development sector, not every day is rosy. one day you might feel like nothing is working out. One day you might feel that a smile on a kid's face would make you feel that your work is successful if that kid is smiling. And during COVID, I really felt that, because most of my kids are from not from Delhi. Their parents come from different. Their parents come from different regions from around India, and like it was shown in the news as well. They would walk till UP. They would walk till West Bengal, and that is when I felt that for anything to happen, what is the most important factor for any education, for any learning to happen? And mental health, mental well-being, physical well-being is the foundation of anything to happen. And COVID disrupted that. And at that point of time, we felt that in order for any learning to happen, we first need to work on mental health. We first need to work on physical health. And at that point of time, Teach for India really helped all the fellows with respect to getting rations for them, or getting tablets for them so that they can study, or getting internet recharges for them so that they feel connected. All the fellows would talk to the students, know about their mental health and well-being, know about what is happening in their lives. And at that point of time, I felt that learning was at pause. Blended learning was something which we all were figuring out. We all were thinking that how we can teach it that way, and it really showed us mirror of our education system. It showed us why are we still teaching like internet does not exist. And like my school has now restarted around 2 months back. I am in Delhi. I'm going to school every day, and I can see the kind of shift our learning system has uh, made. The kind of shift education has made. In my school, now we don't teach like we used to teach. Every kid has got some or the other learning equipment now. Obviously, not every kid has got that, and we are still trying. We are still making sure that we can provide it to maximum number of children. But we are at that point of time where we can differentiate learning in a way that was never possible before COVID. Now we can provide aids to different students in a very different way. Somebody might like to watch a video and learn. Somebody might like to make a mind map and learn. Somebody might like to speak out and learn. And that is something which, for me personally, I would say, it helped me to see, and it helped me to bring technology in my classroom. Again, the experience was not, I'm not telling that everybody's experience is same. There are a lot of kids whose learning has been affected immensely during COVID. But I think at least it showed us mirror. It showed us that we need leadership in every aspect of life, and we need leadership in every aspect of education, whether it is rural education, whether it is urban education, whether it is international education. We need people to figure out stuff. We need people who are problem solvers. And at this point of time, I feel that I'm in a better place, and I understand educational inequity in a much better and in a much deeper way. Uh, Throughout my volunteership experience at Vidyavani, I learned what education system can look like in a rural setting. Throughout my education at Sri Satya Institute of Higher Learning, Anantapur campus, uh, I learned that how Seva can be a great transformative experience. How education is not just sitting in a classroom and learning. How education can also be caring for your friend, caring for your roommate. How education can also be standing in front of a mic and hosting something. How education can be participating in annual sports and cultural meet. And like throughout my journey, one thing has immensely helped, and that is deep rooted faith in what is the power of education. And that started at Swami's Institute. And I'd really like to thank Miss Yusuma Rao, who was my teacher, and I remember that in one of the class she was telling about her experience doing B.Ed, and she was telling that how it is extremely difficult to sometimes teach a genius, and how like it you have to cater to that particular individual, and that kind of clicked me and helped me see education in a much more better way, because like it helped me see that education is such a contextual thing. You cannot assess a student based on any random assessment. We might have board exams, we might have results of our 10th and 12th, but does it really assesses? Does it really tell you what the individual is? My answer is that probably not. Probably it is much more contextual. Probably somebody might not be good at writing answers. He or she might be good at making a film out of it. Somebody might be good at getting a podcast made. And that is something which I learned throughout my journey. And now when I look back, I see the transformative experience I had, and I really want not only my students but students around the world feel that transformative aspect of education, which I think our governments are working on, and there are leaders working on, but we still need leadership in every aspect of our education system. Um, at this point of time, I would like to answer a few questions which I got. Uh, so one of the question was, what do you enjoy more, being a teacher or being an entrepreneur? And I found this question very interesting, because I never thought of being either. I always thought of being a problem solver. And when I saw the problem of education and the crisis which our country or the world is dealing with, I felt that I should be a teacher. And when I saw in my classroom and in others' classroom the kind of problems which were existing, I felt like starting my own venture. So I treat myself more like a problem solver than a teacher or an entrepreneur. Um, um, interested to know the scale and scope of activities being taken at Beyond Boundaries, the current implementation and structure. Interested to know about education during COVID. Okay, so the current structure is that it is a partnership-based model, wherein we find external partners who can give us curriculum, can help us train the fellows. By the fellows, I mean the students. And currently, we have a program in art. We have a program in film. Uh, we have volunteers from Teach for All Network who help them with social emotional learning, and like this is the basic structure. We are still evolving. There is still a lot of scope. And this year we are planning to start a podcast wherein we would share stories of student leadership throughout the world. We all know about Greta, we all know about Malala, but there are a lot of students who are doing great work. Personally, I know a student from Ghana who started a learning circle in his own school because teacher was not there. So he started teaching his juniors, and he was the first person to start that. He learned lesson planning from a Teach for Ghana fellow, started doing that, and like as Satyajit Bhaiya in last session said, each one teach one, education for all, education by all, and this example is, I think, fits perfectly. Um, so there is a lot which can be done and which needs to be done in the near future. Um, how did you manage teaching during COVID pandemic? Initially, it was very, very difficult. I had 74 girls in this session, and most of them lived in Chungis, and that is why I had to leave Delhi, had to leave their cities, and it became very difficult. But initially, we focused on physical and mental well-being, and we used to give them assignments like talk to your parents about their childhood and write a story about that, or talk to your grandparents about their lives in the villages and write about that. So education is all about knowing your surroundings, knowing yourself. So there was a lot of self-reflection during COVID for me and my students.
Sakshi, there's a question from the audience. I think a question which even I would like to know. Now, how did you go about this decision? What made you join Teach for India? As a program. So that's something that somebody in the audience wants to know. Even I want to know. What inspired you? What led you to make that decision?
So this was during my master's when I was volunteering with Riddhi, who was Shri Satsai Vidya Vahini fellow. She was working in Darwa, and I go every month, see what she's doing, and meet the kids. And I saw the power of transformation which she had in her hands. She was literally transforming children, and at that point of time, I felt like I could be like a small part in that. So I would volunteer, I would go to her school, I would go to the classroom, and I fell in love with the entire process of changing a student's mindset, changing the way we see education, changing the whole paradigm. I felt powerful in that. And I felt that this will be my seva to Bhagavan as I reflected in my journey, that this is what I want to do. I want to work with the education sector. I want to transform it. I want to work on student leadership. So it was a long process of me wanting to do something, and I stumbled upon right opportunities at the right time. And yeah, thanks to Riddhi again for starting and for helping me see it. And thanks to the entire Shri Satsai Vidya Vahini project for actually starting and making sure that students from Shri Satsai Institute can actually see work on the ground. So that was like one aspect of it.
Honestly, Sakshi, goosebumps. I'm saying there's so much of passion, there's so much of conviction as you speak. Really, I don't know, in webinar, unfortunately, we are all forcefully muted, but I'm sure each one of us are clapping at our own ends in so much of appreciation to the decision that you have made and the journey that you have embarked upon. Sorry, please continue.
First of all, thank you so much for all that, and I'm sure that like all of us are doing like such great work, and Bhagwan would be really happy with the amount of good work we all are doing. So I think I am mostly done with the question. So one of interesting question is, what's the role of money and financial strength in your endeavors and success? And I would say that it is immensely important. But at the same time, there are a lot of factors which affect which affects the interventions, which affects the endeavors which we all are taking in. So there are a lot of corporates who help students, who help them with technology or who help them with other aspects of education. Deloitte is one which helped Vidya Vahini and is also helping Teach for India. And yeah, financial strength and money is extremely important. And as a fellow, I would say, I think we all we all give importance to money. Somebody gives more importance, somebody gives less importance. But for me personally, I felt that if I'm doing something for most part of my life, if I'm doing something for like 12 hours a day, it should be something I am passionate about. It should be something which I like to do. And I am really proud to say that I love every minute and every second of working at Teach for India. Yes, it is not rosy every day. Yes, I feel like my work is not making any impact some days. But at the same time, when I look back, I know that even if I've changed like lives of those 10 students in out of 74, I am touching 7 families, and I think that makes me feel proud. That makes me feel that my work is worthwhile. Is there any other question, brother?
Yeah, I would request the audience, in case you have any further questions, just to type it into the Q&A option that you see in the left side of your screen. Meanwhile, Sakshi, I just have one question. Initially, you did speak about, gave a socio-economic profile of the students. I imagine that you would tell us a lot more, especially after you spoke about the statistics in terms of their reading capabilities, their arithmetic capabilities, and their meaning their ability to absorb this academic. I think you mentioned something about rigor, right? Their ability to engage. I would assume that is what you were referring to. But your path of intervention seemed quite maybe it eventually results in changes on those parameters also, but you seem to focus more on the personality development, bringing out the leadership potential of the child, communication, expression, rather than saying that I worked a lot more on arithmetic, I worked a lot more on reading. So was this a conscious decision? I just want to understand, how did you come about this thought process? Is it by chance, conscious decision? What really happened behind the scenes in your mind?
Okay. First of all, thank you so much. It's a great question. And the answer is, I was not the one to make the decision. It was the kids. So in the class, as I told you, we had something called learning circles. We would sit in a circle and we would discuss what we are going to do, where are we, what are our goals. So each kid would sit, write it in their notebooks that I have to read 3 books in this week, or I have to read 3 books in this month. So every kid would make a conscious choice that this is my goal, and then they would have peers. That I will make sure that Sonam, who is my peer, would read 3 books, and she would tell me the summary of those 3 books. And we had a class vision wherein we made sure that we are conscious, aware, active global citizens. Wherein we made sure that if I am making a goal for myself, I am fulfilling that goal. So, like, it kind of happens that once you connect with a kid on a personal level, once you have gone to their home, made chai with their mothers, they start respecting you, and out of that respect, they start learning. It is very magical. I would say magical is the only word which is coming to my head. That they start respecting you, and out of that respect, they start studying because they feel that दीदी को अच्छा लगेगा, साक्षी दीदी को अच्छा लगेगा. That is why I'm studying. So it was not my decision, it was the decision made by the girls. They wanted to work on their skills, and at the same time, we made sure that when they are working on their skills, they are also working on their reading levels. They are also working on social studies. So basically, social studies is also all about, about freedom of expression, about freedom, about French Revolution, about Russian Revolution. So we would mix and match everything. We would talk about freedom at one point of time, and then we would talk about dharma at another point of time. So we made sure that the studies we are doing is very liberal in approach, and we can like mix match things. We can mix match rigor level arithmetic and like different aspects of it. So I would really like to say one. Do I have time? Like 3-4 minutes?
Yeah, definitely, Sakshi. I also wanted to remind you about the video.
Yeah. So we would. So it once happened that my girls we were sharing our problems, and they were like, "Didi, there is a lot which happens in the community. We are always our brothers can go anywhere, like we cannot go. Why is there this perception?" And I was like, "Figure out. I don't know. You figure out. Like I have a very liberal approach to this. You figure out what happens." And then they were like, how should we do it? And they made a questionnaire on what are the problems women face in their communities. And they came up with bar graphs, and they made, so it was very organic. So they made all this in a very organic way. They learned about the world, they learned about arithmetic in hand. So this is something which I really wanted to share. Now coming back to the video. While working at Beyond Boundaries.
Another question, sorry, before we go to the video, is how were you able to engage other teachers or other staff or faculty as part, or was it really a direct, was there any element of having to engage them as part of the journey transformation process?
Yes. So building relationship and investing others is a big aspect of Teach for India Fellowship. And again, it boils down to how often do you communicate, like your style of talking to them. So like we would sit in the staff room and we'd talk about, ma'am, do you know this new thing has come up, and probably you could help me you could help me. I'll sit in your class and see what kind of teaching are you doing, and I'd really like to learn from you. And then slowly and steadily changing the government system, because these teachers have experience of 10, 20 years, and so, like a kid who do not have any experience in teaching cannot tell that, this is something which we should be doing, because there is a lot which I can learn from them. There is a lot which like we both can work together and learn. So again, I would not say it was a rosy picture. There were differences. There still are differences in approach, and in our vision, but we make sure that we work hand in hand. Yeah, so that is the answer.
I think one point that you spoke about is so powerful, is that you invested time and effort in building a relationship with the student, in becoming relevant in their lives, and they perceiving you as one amongst them, and you gave them space for voice and decision making, and therefore learning became a natural outcome.
Exactly.
I think the underlying principles with which Vidyavani Fellowship was designed laid a lot of importance on this aspect. Although, as part of the learning journey of the fellowship program of Vidyavani itself, again, a lot of shift happened towards the fellows being good teachers. By that, in quotes, teaching academics better. But I think yours is a very powerful case story, and I wish that the Vidyavani program gets an opportunity to listen to how you, just being a volunteer observing in another fellow's journey, resulted in you being a fellow yourself, and that's absolutely powerful. Back to you, Sakshi.
Thank you so much, brother. I would really like to show a video which we made during the Global Peace Building Fellowship for students.
You might have to first share your screen again and then play the video.
Yeah.
If there's any problem, you can tell me. I have the file handy.
Yeah, sure. Can you see my video?
Not as yet. Yet to see your screen.
Okay. I'll start sharing it again.
Do you want me to on your behalf?
I am sharing it. If it is not visible, would love if you could share it.
Yeah, still not able to see.
Okay. Probably you can share it then.
Yeah, I'll do that quickly. I'll make myself the presenter.
So telling you a bit about this video and the song which is played behind this video.
We are living in a world that needs to change. We have found our voice, we know we have a choice. Our little light is shining bright. We're all made of stars, and the future's ours. Just watch us shine, we may be small, but hear us roar. We can change the world, now watch us soar. We know what we need, it's time for us to lead. We are the ones we are waiting for. We can put our broken world back together. Diamonds in the rough, we can be wise and tough. You try to bury us, but we are see. We won't be shy or scared. Till our eyes breathe. Just watch us rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up together, rise up, rise up, rise up.
We gotta rise up when the times are tough. We gotta rise up when we're out of luck. We gotta rise to the occasion, change the equation, make sure that we help raise education. To every student in the world, this is your creation. What we do now is a gift for generations to come. So don't let them tell you that we're done, because we're just getting started. So tell them we've just begun. Yeah.
Just watch us shine and fall. Here's fall.
Back to you, Sakshi.
Thank you so much for sharing the video, brother. Giving a bit about the video. So the song which was being played, We Are the Ones We Are Waiting For, talks about that it is sung and composed by students from Teach for India, and it speaks about how we are the ones who can make our lives as we want it, and we are the ones the world is waiting for. We are the ones we are waiting for, and we can make change happen. So it speaks a lot about student leadership, about student voice, and we asked all our global peace building fellows that what kind of world do you want to live in? What kind of world do you want to create for yourself? So these were few answers which they gave, and then they started working on what they wanted, what they felt passionate about. Yeah, thank you. Is there any other question?
I will just take a quick check with the audience in case they have any other question. They can raise their hand or they can put it in the Q&A. I'm just going to go to the Q&A section to check if there's any other question that's pending for us to take a look at. I guess all the questions so far have been covered. I'm sure all those who could not attend the live session will feel not so lucky. But they can definitely go over to see the recorded session that will be uploaded on YouTube as well as on the podcast platform. So this is our YouTube channel, and this is our podcast platform. You can listen to it on Spotify, on Anchor, and a host Google Podcasts, and a host of other platforms. It will be up and running here in the next day. But back to the session itself, Sakshi, I would like to express sincere thanks, deep sense of appreciation, admiration, and adoration for the decision that you made to join a platform such as Teach for India, for the commitment that you put into the cause to work with the lives of children. Adoration, because it was not an easy task. Most schools probably are disconnected from this communities or societal contexts. But here is a case, for example, when the NRC issue was going on, you could see the amplified sentiments within the classroom setting, because society's repeated narration is getting imbibed in the minds of the children, and that will create differences. But you have a mission of building a future out of these children, overcoming existing patterns in society. Not an easy task, right? You have to provide so much more context and influence and understanding and appreciation to them, so that there is reverse change. Instead of societies influencing them, you wanted the students to become the change makers and influence their own individual lives and societies. So you have to counter the force. Firstly, not just equally opposite force, but even increased force, so that the positive narrative can go forth with a lot more rigor from the classroom to the community, rather than community imposing its narrow-mindedness onto the context of the classroom. So phenomenal effort. I think the imagination of beyond boundaries, the faith in the concept of student leadership, again, something that is fantastic. I see a question, appreciation. Yeah, I think it's a word of appreciation. I was just about to ask, saying that if somebody wants to reach out to you, because I'm sure that there are a lot many more questions that each one of us have in our mind, and this Dev Talks is rightly a platform to establish a context and connect. You should definitely go over to the Anantapur campus someday and talk to all these students. Maybe I will request Anamika sister. We are thinking of starting a short podcast, just podcast, not video, and where we can book some time. We are all also very excited to know what's next in your decision about your career, given that Teach for India fellowship is probably coming to an end. As regards Vaishnavi, who has asked where we can reach out to you, would you mind sharing your email ID? Maybe you can just type out your email ID, Sakshi, if you're comfortable, for those who want to reach out to you. Or I can and
should I type my email ID on the WhatsApp group as only, or should I type it here?
We'll type it here because Vaishnavi might not be there in the WhatsApp group. Maybe I'll type it on your behalf. The Teach for India email ID?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sending it.
And I would love if any of you are interested in Beyond Boundaries, or feel connected to it, or probably we could collaborate in any capacity possible. Probably we could, if you have any idea, we could incorporate that idea. And in my journey, Teach for India is getting over, but I think I will be in the educational sector. I will be working in the development sector for like many more years. I would really like to understand the teaching and learning process. Would love to understand how education can actually make change happen. And currently looking forward for new ventures, new organizations, and I'm hopeful that my next aspect of the journey would be as wonderful as was Teach for India. And thank you so much. If anybody of you are interested, please reach out to me. I can probably put my phone number as well on the WhatsApp group. So looking forward to hearing from you and your wonderful ideas.
Before we formally conclude, a line of advice, request is that with someone with your capability, please don't be an employee. Please continue to be an employer. And you have leadership, you have potential, you have creativity. And I think the nation needs such kind of youth engaging towards change processes. It would be a privilege for many to work with you rather than for you to work with others. So that's a line of request. I know it takes a little bit of risk and investment, but if that's a privilege that you can experiment with, please do consider, right? And may yet another new and large organization be born out of your creativity and passion. Any last words, Sakshi, and then we can bring this session to a close.
Would really like to thank the whole community for being such a positive reinforcement to all of us, and the kind of world we all are creating is something which I'm really passionate about. Somebody might be working in livelihood, somebody might be working in nutrition, but I feel like a human body, every aspect is related to other aspects, and if we work together, like I tell my children, if you collaborate, we can change the world, we can make change happen. So like really thankful to the platform, to you, to Swami, to organization, to Sri Satya Institute of Higher Learning. Yeah, I'm immensely blessed to be part of this wonderful.
Okay, thank you, Sakshi. Thank you, everybody. We will now bring this session to a close, and do check out our YouTube channel and podcast platform so that you can see this recording once again and share it with your friends, relatives. And we have a vision: let Dev Talks become the TED Talks in Sai community. We should become the most subscribed, most sought after, because we have real stories from amongst our own tribe. Our master is same. We are a crazy lot, but we have our common master who loves us all, and we in turn love his children out in the society. Thank you all once again. Sai Ram. We conclude session 2 by Ms. Sakshi Sharma.